In this video, we're going to talk about non-duality, and it's going to be life-changing. It'll be like the time that I watched that movie with Zach Braff called Garden State. So we're going to discuss how talking about non-duality or trying to understand it through your thought process will never work. So keep watching. Welcome, my name is Russ Rapp and this is my YouTube channel about nothing or no thing, where I like to talk about non-duality. But before we get into that, I just want to remind you, if you haven't yet, please click the subscribe button down below to subscribe to my channel, because I know non-duality is all about no one talking to no one, but it'd be nice to have someone listening to someone here. So please click subscribe. And so today what we're going to talk about is non-duality and really how words just aren't applicable and don't give it justice. So I can sit and describe non-duality and kind of the concept of everything that goes along with it. But really, when you get into using words to try to describe something that's indescribable, sometimes you kind of go down rabbit trails. And I think with someone like myself who is more of a thinker when it comes to these types of things, I think a lot of times you get lost in trying to really understand it conceptually. And so talking about non-duality with words is almost counterintuitive, I guess you could say. And so, you know, my last YouTube video that I made, I tried to talk about the observer self, and I think anytime you start to try to think of your identity and who you are, you can kind of start to wonder about things that maybe, how do I say this? You start to get so wrapped up in trying to understand who the observer self is, and you kind of lose the forest for the trees, if you will. And so really it's your awareness trying to grasp at that thing that it's trying to find. And I know when it comes to non-duality, I think what people often are seeking is some sort of state of awareness where, you know, there's times where, you know, I've felt I've been, how do you describe it, kind of non-localized, or that I'm a part of everything around me, or my identity isn't fixed, I guess. And so you start to get a sense that everything is everything and everything is one. But as I describe it now and I talk it through, it's really, the words don't really give it justice of what I'm saying. And so what the mind typically does is trying to, as I'm doing right now and communicating with you, is really trying to find words to describe something that you can never really describe. And so you're always kind of at a loss. And I think what happens is many times people use the instrument of the mind and of thinking to find something that it can never really find. And it's almost like when you, let's say you take a pair of binoculars and you walk around outside and you look at things in the binoculars, and after a while you start to wonder why, as you're looking through binoculars, why is everything so far away? And no matter how hard you try, you're trying to find a different perspective using binoculars, but just the fact that you're using something that sees something from a distance close up, the tool that you're using is the thing that's giving you the perception that you're looking for. And so it's almost like when you look for non-duality through thinking or through the mind or the separate self, whatever you want to call it, that the act of alone is what's keeping you from the thing that you're seeking for. And so really it's recognizing that the tool that you're using is the thing that's keeping you far away from it. And I think people seek for all sorts of things in life, whether it's you know, excitement or love or a feeling or a material thing, a car, a house. They want to seek for attention. I think when it comes to non-duality, a lot of the non-duality speakers tend to focus on the negation side of it, because when you're when you're focused on trying to describe what non-duality is, it's something that you can't describe. So what ends up happening is you talk about things that non-duality is not, or what existence is not. And so really it's a story of failure, of trying to come up with something by realizing that what you're trying to do is a failed system, essentially. And so when you're thinking about trying to describe this state of connectedness and that sort of thing, really that state of connectedness is really has nothing to do with non-duality. But there are moments, I think, in those connected, when you feel like you're at one, or you have a epiphany, or some sort of whatever word you want to call it, where you're connected with everything around you, that you start to realize that it's always been like that, that everything is everything, and that this separation is an illusion. But then oftentimes you come back to your current state of awareness that is maybe limited. And so, there are practices that can help you be more clear with that. But it's almost just like like if I want to get in shape, I do a workout regimen or eat healthy. And so what I'm doing is trying to get to a certain end goal. And so you can try to have a more connected sense or a more meditative state, but ultimately that is just yet another seeking. And so what ends up happening is, when you start to realize that all those systems to try to find out who you really are, or what the meaning of life is, everything fails. And so the tools that you're using is the thing that's keeping you disconnected, if you will, or seemingly disconnected. And so once you stop that seeking energy, then so if you come from a place of wholeness, all you can see is wholeness. But if you try to come from a place of separation to find wholeness, you'll only find separation. So hopefully that makes sense. And so as you're seeking, realizing that seeking is okay, that it happens, that the world is as it is in this moment, as I'm trying to communicate with you, this moment is perfect. And that's where a lot of times with non-duality speakers, they talk about what is, or this moment, or this. And so it's really not something you can even describe. So you're going to be listening to this in this moment, if you want to call it a moment, and you're going to hear my words, and that's what happens. And so hopefully by the fact that I babbled a little bit today, that'll help show you that words aren't going to get you what you want. And you can go seek for some sort of bliss state or non-duality, but if you try to hold that as a concept or some sort of understanding, it'll ultimately leave you flat, because the mind will always try to find something, because it always feels like it lost something. But that's just the functioning of the mind. It has nothing to do with what's true and what's real. So as I said at the beginning of the video, please subscribe below if you have any comments or questions. I'd love to hear from you, so I can come up with things to maybe chat with you on about non-duality. So, until next time, I just want to say peace. It's been real and unreal.